Howdy. In this video, I'm just going to run through real quick the three things I like the most about my Range Rover Classic and Range Rover Classics in general. I've had this truck for about 2 years. This is the one that was pulled out of the field along with two others. This truck was not running and dry when we pulled it out, and that's kind of started the saga that's kind of led me down the path of many old Range Rover Classics and kind of just getting indoctrinated into the brand itself. The first thing that caught my attention with this truck is obviously just how cool it looks, I guess. That's kind of downphrasing it as much as you'd think it would be. I think these days, any boxy truck with round headlights is a winner. Land Cruisers, Range Rover Classics, Troopers, anything from that 70s, 80s, early 90s era that is boxy, has round headlights, or comes from the utilitarian side of the DNA strain. And this truck definitely checks all those boxes. It's it's a little rough, but that's what makes it interesting. You don't have to care about it as much as you would something else. It's never going to be a collector's truck as far as this particular model, and it's just something I can play around with and have fun with. It's a good platform to learn how to work on these things, and really kind of cut your teeth on the basics of Rover ownership and automotive ownership in general. It's really simple to work on. This is an 89, so it doesn't have air suspension. It doesn't have ABS or any of the kind of the more complicated systems that require further diagnosis. So, yeah, again, this thing, it's a cool rig, and that's definitely the number one reason why I ended up keeping it. So if looks is number one, I think number two is just probably the Land Rover, Range Rover community. I've owned a lot of different styles and manufacturer types of cars, trucks, blah, blah, blah over the years. But there's just something about these old Range Rovers and the people that are associated with the clubs and the groups and the online presence that really makes things a little bit more interesting. I think everybody's kind of in the same boat if they're working on a project, because most of these are projects, or are about to enter into the project stage of one of these old things. They're usually in pretty terrible condition, and it takes a lot more time, energy, and resources than they're worth to get back on the road. It's really about the small wins with these things that really gives you the most satisfaction and gratification when working on them. Obviously, this one is a running and driving project, which is about as good as it gets, I think, in my book. If you can have a project that runs and drives and gets you to car shows and gets you to the mountains and still allows you to have fun with, then you're already ahead of the game. And this one is definitely checks that box. There's a few other small mechanical things that I have to work on still. The interior is obviously going to be last on that book, but it's definitely something that makes this a pretty neat truck. So that leads to my last point. We started with looks. We went through the ownership, community, and the things that are associated with owning old Range Rovers. And the last one would be ease of maintenance and operation. Again, this truck sat for a very long time. I haven't done everything that needs to be done to refresh the truck that's been sitting. But as far as the maintenance was concerned, there's nothing that makes these harder to work on than any old 4x4 truck, Jeep, etc. It's all very manageable. There's lots of parts available through British Atlantic, Rovers North, and other just parts trucks. There's these things. They are kind of rare in okay condition, but they can be found for $1,000 here and there that you can salvage some parts off it. So with this one, obviously need a new battery. I replaced all the belts. I could probably tighten up this alternator belt a little bit. Air filter, oil change, flushed all the diffs. New tires, new front brakes and rotors, how to reseal one of the swivel balls. But other than that, it's pretty much as original. I have not touched the spark plugs, wires, cap, coil, haven't done any of that. I should probably flush the coolant. What else? I painted the grill and changed the headlights. That's really about it. This is all stuff I did pretty much in my backyard without tools and without a lift. And you know, it was all very simple and very straightforward. And you know, if you look online, you know, there's manuals, there's, you know, documentation, everything you might need to accomplish, you know, your project. I mean, the only thing that is you really can't do in your backyard unless you've got some welding and mechanical skills, unless you're soup motoring, is rust repair. So, you know, I definitely wouldn't be intimidated by these trucks. If you're thinking about starting one as a project, I would go ahead and jump in and just you know, baseline it and go from there. You know, the 3.9 is a pretty robust motor, and you know, like I said, don't listen to all the critics. You know, it's not like you have to diagnose any crazy electrical issues, and you know, you should be able to manage it if you're thinking about embarking on one of these Range Rover projects. But yeah. So that's all I got for the 3 things that I like about my Range Rover Classic. Hopefully I'm going to be making a few more of these videos and some of the other cars that I've got sitting around, including some that I haven't introduced yet, but we'll keep them coming.